This is International News in partnership with KTN and Viori. I'm Dennis Aseto. This week we start from South Africa, and South African government is celebrating following the turnaround of the economic situations in the country, saying that the country is performing well because of all that the government is doing to ensure that it is winning in the continent, outpacing Egypt.
5 years ago, the outlook was stark. State capture had hollowed out critical institutions and weakened state-owned institutions. South Africa had been downgraded to junk status by the last of the three major credit ratings agencies in 2020. The devastation of the coronavirus pandemic, coupled with the Russia-Ukraine conflict, had dealt a blow to the global growth. And in 2023, the Financial Action Task Force had placed South Africa on its grey list. The warning lights were flashing. Public finances were under severe strain and growth had stalled. Faced with this crisis, we chose not to be defined by it. Instead, we turned it into a catalyst for change. We commit to a clear reform agenda we committed to a clear reform agenda and a disciplined fiscal strategy built on three principles: stabilize debt, invest in infrastructure, and spend better. Today, that commitment has delivered tangible results. For the first time in 17 years, debt will stabilize and it will continue to fall in the coming years. The budget deficit has narrowed significantly, and the debt service costs are also falling. The world has taken notice. South Africa has been removed from the FATF grey list. We secured our first credit rating upgrade in 16 years, and borrowing costs have eased, creating space for growth and development. These are signals of restored credibility, of renewed resilience, and of a nation regaining its foot. The lesson is a simple but powerful one. Steady structural reform and responsible public finances are the bedrock of a prosperous and more inclusive South Africa. Honourable members, allow me to turn to the global and domestic economic outlook. The global economy is projected to grow by 3.3% in 2026, broadly in line with last year's outcome. Advanced economies are expected to grow moderately, while emerging markets will continue to anchor global momentum. India and sub-Saharan Africa in particular are forecast to grow more strongly, supported by resilient domestic demand. These developments are unfolding within an unprecedented global trade environment, characterized by persistent geopolitical tensions and shifting trade policies which are reshaping supply chains. In response, we need to diversify our trade portfolios and secure our markets, reduce vulnerabilities to external shocks, and position ourselves to benefit from the emerging global growth centers.
Still in the southern part of the continent, right now we are in Zimbabwe, where the government has suspended the export of all minerals in the country, saying that this is for the benefit of the country, that it will do everything because the country must benefit from its resources.
Government has suspended export of all metal concentrates and raw minerals with immediate effect until further notice. This suspension includes all minerals currently in transit. To this effect, ZIMRA, MMCZ, and all regulators are advised to observe this suspension without exception. Government expects cooperation of the mining industry on this measure, which has been taken in the national interest. The Minister of Mines and Mining Development will be engaging the industry in the near future on the new expectations and the way forward. Only mining companies holding valid mining titles and approved beneficiary plans will be authorized to export minerals from the country. Agents and third-party traders are not authorized to export minerals on behalf of mining title holders. In addition to other supporting documents for export permit applications, applicants must also attach the following: a recommendation letter from the relevant provincial mines office, clearly stating 1. beneficiary capacity, 2. compliance status with ministry regulations and other statutory requirements.
From Zimbabwe, we go to Senegal. Osman Sonko has said that Africa needs to remove itself from the shackles of odious debt, saying that Africa, for it to develop, it must free itself from debt that is stopping it from developing. It is a conversation that is hitting many countries in the continent in terms of finding new ways of financing its development needs and agenda. Take a look.
Je voudrais lancer un appel au peuple sénégalais.
I would like to issue a call to the Senegalese people. We are living in a world at a crossroads of major upheaval. The world is evolving, and this evolution is marked by change and the formation of new power blocks. Where there was once a single global power, today another power has emerged with its own bloc and its own changes. Every time a new power rises, we witness clashes at the top and disruptions on economic, health and security levels. Meanwhile, what is Africa proposing? This is where the continent's strategic thinking must lie. But Africa is still lagging behind, mad in useless debates and remaining subservient. And this is the message I want to send to the Senegalese and African people. Africa does not need to be suffocated by unjust and odious debt. It needs growth to drive the world forward. Because the only island of growth left in this world is Africa, and nowhere else. It is in Africa that everything remains to be built. Will this be done without Africans, as has always been the case since the slave trade, colonization and neo-colonization? It is up to us as Africans to answer. We must raise the level of debate if we want to develop our continent. We must realize that Africa does not need these odious debt.
Il faut aujourd'hui qu'on sache que l'Afrique n'a pas besoin de ça, de cette dette odieuse.
And we got to the Central African Republic. This after the country opened an exhibition to showcase its partnership with Russia in terms of weapons and defense of the country. Take a look on what this exactly means for the residents of the Central African Republic.
That idea came up because on the 23rd and 24th, it's a day dedicated to the exhibition of weapons. It is on this occasion that Russian partners, including our armed forces, chose these 2 days to showcase weapons to the general public. We showed them this so that they can have an idea of the technologies and weapons used by our armed forces to protect them. And also, it will allow those aspiring to military functions to know what to expect there on the day of their training, during the training period in the training camps.
En faisant le tour pour regarder les armes qui sont utilisées en Centrafrique, je pense à mon avis.
Touring to see the weapons used in the Central African Republic, in my opinion, it's a very good thing to have an idea of these, to roughly know the capacity of our defense forces. It's very interesting as an intellectual to be interested in everything that concerns the activities of our army.
Concerne les activités de notre armée.
Je pense que c'est un plaisir, de venir.
I think it's a pleasure to come and see the weapons used by our defense and security forces up close and to gain an understanding of what each one does. This exhibition has also allowed many Central African citizens, especially the youth I see here, to learn about the function of these weapons. It is truly a pleasure to see.
Quelle arme fait quoi, et c'est vraiment un plaisir.
And we go to the western part of the continent. We are in West Africa, and these, as the regional bodies under ECOWAS, have brought together a unit in terms of military prowess, 1,665 officers who are in charge in restoring order in the countries. Take a look, but many say, what exactly will this do in a region that has been ravaged by endless war in the countries? Take a look.
The program of the meeting has been deliberately designed to reflect the urgency and importance of our impending regional challenges. Our deliberations will review the implementation of decisions from the previous meeting, assess progress towards the activation and operationalization of the ECOWAS force in this kinetic mode, and examine key issues relating to contingent on equipment, logistics sustainability, and operational readiness. Thank you very much.
Professional military cooperation. And that's for adoption of the agenda of the meeting.
I think this committee will have to take a stance on it, because insecurity in Guinea-Bissau or elsewhere, and the unconstitutional assumption of power in that country goes counter to the values and the aspirations of the region. And I think the chiefs of defense have a responsibility to engage their counterparts in Guinea-Bissau to make sure constitutional order is restored as quickly as possible. The ministers of defense and finance, during their meeting on 29 August 2025 in Abuja, agreed on the setting up of 5,000 personnel force with a startup of 1,650 personnel brigade that could be incrementally scaled up within a specified time frame.
And we are in Peru, where 17 families have received bodies of their loved ones who were killed during the war between 1980 and 2000. They say that they have been severely punished, but that it is time for them to lay their loved ones to rest and for life to continue as normal.
It is a ceremony that has a lot of feeling. It reaffirms the work being carried out by the Public Prosecutor's Office, specifically with the Specialized Human Rights Prosecutor's Office, in permanent coordination with the Institute of Legal Medicine and Forensic Sciences and the Directorate for the Search of Missing Persons of the Ministry of Justice. It is work that has made it possible to restore dignity to the victims of violence of the 80s and 90s. And we hope that with this, we have reduced, at least somewhat, the pain they have suffered throughout all this time of waiting. It is a long time of waiting that the victims have had to endure.
We are in Venezuela, and in Venezuela, following the abduction of President Nicolas Maduro, we see that 2 individuals have resigned from office. We have the Ombudsman and the Attorney General who tendered their resignation, saying that the Parliament now has the responsibility of selecting the new individuals who will be in these offices. But one asks the question, why exactly have the 2 individuals resigned? Here's the story.
In effect, we have in opposition formal letters addressed by the Attorney General of the Republic, Dr. Tarek William Saab, and by the Ombudsman, Dr. Alfredo Jose Ruiz Anguilla, in which they express their decision to resign from their respective posts as Attorney General of the Republic and as Ombudsman of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. The constitutional procedure stipulates the need to designate a nominations committee, as established in the Article 279 of the Constitution of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and in Article 23 of the Organic Law of the Citizen Power. I must also point out that, in the case of the Office of the Attorney General of the Republic, what the procedure establishes, let us call it traditional or typical or expedited, is that whoever owes the post of Deputy Attorney General of the Republic temporarily assumes the position until the entire established constitutional procedure is completed. The fact is that there is no Deputy Attorney General, male or female, and in compliance with the constitutional and legal precept that he who can, the greater includes the lesser, and that the body that appoints the Attorney General and that appoints the Deputy Attorney General and that appoints the Ombudsman is the National Assembly of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. We are going to proceed to select an acting official, male or female, for both posts, while the nominations committee is activated.
War is a subject that continues to hit the headlines across the world. In Geneva, an attempt to have peaceful conversations between US and Iran took center stage. But not only that, there are also talks between Ukraine and Russia. All these to ensure that peace is realized in all these nations. And still in Geneva, as these conversations took place, the Iranian foreign minister landed in the country as he got ready to have discussions on matters to do with peace and also conversations around allegations that Iran is actually back on its nuclear exploration. Take a look. The United States attacked 3 nuclear sites in Iran. Vice President J.D. Vance says that they have evidence that Iran is trying to rebuild itself in terms of nuclear exploration in the country, and that the United States is cognizant of these even as they get into conversations in Geneva. Take a look.
Well, I'm not going to make any news on Iran today, Caitlin. I'll let the president make those announcements. As you know, he is sending 2 of his best negotiators to Geneva tomorrow in order to continue to try to strike the best deal possible for the American people. But the principle is very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they try to rebuild a nuclear weapon, that causes problems for us. And in fact, we've seen evidence that they have tried to do exactly that. So the president sending those negotiators to try to address that problem. As the president has said repeatedly, he wants to address that problem diplomatically, but of course the president has other options as well.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Israel, and here they are to discuss matters to do with bilateral agreements and arrangements that would see the 2 countries engage much more. And this as well, they continue to show power of might and some play around as they played the hand game. Take a look what exactly this means.
This is a bond of real friendship. Great friend, my great friend. Thank you.
As Ukraine and Russia plan to have that meeting in Geneva, many ask the question, is the meeting really worth it? This is because Ukraine and President Volodymyr Zelensky has been accused of intending to squander money from European countries and not find peace. Here is that story.
Perhaps we should agree here that the 3 presidents should meet only if finalizing agreements or, as the Americans say, a deal. This is probably true. However, regarding the prospects of organizing a meeting between the Russian president and Zelensky, let's limit ourselves for now to recalling his statements from the past week. What Ukraine will never agree to, what it will not consent to, what it intends to do next, and so on. We don't even need to analyze them, just remember them and ask whether there is any point in holding a meeting at the highest level if the Kyiv regime continues to maintain this position. Well, apparently yes. The territorial issue is the most complex one. And of course, any serious meetings should be preceded by very meticulous work at the expert level. Meanwhile, as for the Kyiv regime, I think they are currently putting all efforts not into seeking options for a peaceful settlement, but into finding ways to squander European money. They need to obtain these hundreds of billions of euros by any means necessary. This is what they are seriously working on. Seriousness in approaching other issues is not yet evident. Yes, that was President Putin's word. He always keeps his word.
Still on the war in Ukraine and Russia, and the Slovakian Prime Minister has told of President Volodymyr Zelensky that he cannot come to conversations with conditions, that there are protocols that will be followed, that he must come in with clean hands in order to find peace in the country. Take a look.
Znovu, aby neboli žiadne pochybnosti, máme pouzatvárané záväzné zmluvy.
The main argument President Zelensky uses regarding gas and oil is that by purchasing this oil and gas, we are helping the Russian Federation to finance its military activities in Ukraine. This is Mr. Zelensky's main argument. Why doesn't it apply to France and others who are buying liquefied gas in such volumes that in 2025 the volume of liquefied gas purchased from the Russian Federation is significantly higher than it was in 2024? Meaning, during the war, during the escalation of the war, it's not that the share of gas Western states are buying from the Russian Federation is decreasing. It is rising. Does the United States buy enriched uranium from Russia? Yes, they do. So how am I supposed to accept it from President Zelensky, who thinks he can do anything? But you Slovaks cannot, because by doing so, you're financing the Russian Federation. I am not 3 years old, nor was I born yesterday. I know exactly what's going on. So under these circumstances, please, this is the most crucial argument that needs to be stated. We are pursuing our own interests.
No jednoducho sa pravdepodobne domnieva ukrajinský prezident, že si bude robiť čo chce, ale on sa veľmi, opakujem, veľmi mýli.
As conversations between Russia and Ukraine continue, there is concern that that might not see the day after a party in the bloc of 27 countries vetoed the arrangements and agreements in the European Parliament. But even while at that, President Ursula von der Leyen has told Ukraine that it needs to hurry up and repair its pipes so that normalcy can return to the region. Take a look.
Question of the sanctions, as you know, there is no agreement yet. They're still being discussed. Of course, anything which was part of the proposal from our side, from the Commission, there is a reason to make it part of the package. But then, of course, all of it is subject to discussions with the Council, and that's where we are. So we don't know, and we cannot pronounce ourselves on whether that specific element is still will be part of the final package. There we need to really wait for the final adoption to see what will be the final elements of the 20th package of sanctions. This was something that the President von der Leyen yesterday said very clearly. She referred to the fact that the loan to Ukraine, the 90 billion euro loan, was agreed by the 27 heads of state and government at the European Council, that they have given their word and that their word cannot be broken. And the President also reiterated and reassured, as you say, that we will deliver on the loan one way or the other, and that there are different options and we will use them.
All the leaders of the EU countries gave their word, and also Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban, who is now taking this word away. Is the President von der Leyen going to talk to him? Maybe there is some meeting scheduled or a phone call to push him, to talk to him, to ask him about the position, about the plans. Thank you.
There are ongoing discussions. I cannot confirm whether there is a specific discussion between President von der Leyen and Prime Minister Orban, but there are clearly discussions ongoing with Prime Minister Orban on this very same topic at various levels, for sure. President von der Leyen also said that she was asking for the repairs of the pipeline, which were destroyed after the Russian attacks. Maybe we should always remind the source of the destruction of the pipeline. President van der Leyen asked them to be accelerated, and yes, this has been brought up in the discussions with President Zelensky.
Macaque is a type of monkey, but the one we're talking about is actually an internet sensation. But in this specific zoo, many have traveled far and wide to come experience what Punch has to offer. But while at that, it was raining, and in that, a zookeeper came through and was seen as Punch was hiding from the rain in this zookeeper's ride. Just why exactly is a monkey so important and such a big sensation? One asks the question, what are you doing with your social media? Geopolitics continues to form policy across the world. It is why I, Dennis Aseto, KTN, in partnership with Vaori, will forever bring you the best coverage on matters to do with international news only on International Roundup.